Good morning, friends. Happy Thursday. It is Claim Your Power Live with Mast and Kip Eve. Pack day today. Super excited. Wanted to go a little deep on this one today. And this has come up a few times this week in client calls, and also if you watched my live yesterday about patience and impatience. I think what is not typically thought of in normal everyday world is parts of ourselves that get activated. We call them triggers sometimes. Parts of ourselves that get activated when we're going through stressful situations, maybe when we're not seen and heard the way that we really want to be in our deep hearts, and how those triggers and the way that we kind of deal with them can really set up a pattern of kind of unhealthy behaviors. And so that's a little bit what I wanted to talk about today. So let me think about where I should start. So I will start present day as adults. As adults, if we are physically safe, we are autonomous beings. We have the means and are resourced to make decisions for us. But a lot of times, especially if, just depending on where you are in your healing journey, but many times if you are stuck or blocked in doing whatever it is, it could be, for me, when I knew that I needed help in kind of going to the next level of my life, I was stuck in an entrepreneurial kind of purpose-driven sense. And it was really hard for me to move forward because I kept procrastinating, I kept making excuses, but I had plenty of time, but for some reason there was no kind of even flow. I would go through this like up and down of like super high activity and then go down into like depression, and just following this wave of activity towards something that I really, really wanted. And there are other, blocks that people come to me with, and people that, that I've noticed, which is like being in high anxiety all the time, right? Kind of being in an overactive state of hypervigilance and looking for danger in people or in things. And I also think that what's not talked about super often is the propensity for us to go into things that are holding us back, blocks that we're seeing, healing that we want to do, help that we want to receive. And I think also with this Western culture, I think it's very, our culture is very individualized. But we are trained, and this is kind of what I'll get into in a few minutes, but we are trained to try to do everything on our own. Everything. Just sit with me for a moment about how much pressure and weight that takes from you to carry everything. And many times for women, or even for men actually, but I, obviously I'm speaking from the perspective of a woman, we are also burdened with those things of other people, family, friends, whatever kind of role that we've established in work, taking on too many projects or whatever it is. If you could just sit with me and you could feel the weight of that. And it feels, it feels very, at least for me, the way that I'm feeling it right now, like very constricting. It doesn't really feel like I have a lot of freedom to be a butterfly or to do what I want to do. And the thing that I really kind of want to put forward today is this idea of, when did we pick this up? When did we internalize that we have to do everything on our own? When did we internalize this? Why is that so important? What makes it hard for us to ask for help? If it's really hard for us to, I remember, if it came to work or projects, especially things in my business, it was very hard to let go of that control. And I'm being completely honest. I always felt like, I can get it done quicker, better, stronger, faster, you name it. But what I didn't think about is how releasing myself of that burden would really serve me in the long run. Not having high anxiety, not having, to be super like controlling and hypervigilant, not having those internal reactions in my body, not having to have those coping mechanisms because I was so stressful. For me, it was food, it was other people. So when did we learn this? More often than not, what I've found is that there is a younger part of us that is activated in these states, that is really showing up in our lives from a past pattern that we adopted as literally a survival mechanism, likely in the past. And more about that is, there might have been a time when a younger self of you, whether you remember or you don't, that's not what I really want to put that out there, that is less important right now, depending on where you are. But there likely was a time in your life where you really tried to do something from the heart, or you asked for help, or it could have been you didn't receive the nurturing that you needed at a very, very young stage of your life. And as a survival, just to live, as a survival mechanism, you emotionally closed. Your heart closed, even when you were younger. Because after asking for help for so many times, it wasn't received. And that's kind of what I mean about the exiled girl. The exiled girl is really frightened and afraid. The exiled girl only knows how to do things on her own because that's the way that she's lived through life. Not everything, but opening up emotionally, definitely. Being her true self, definitely. Making decisions that are really right for her, as an adult, I guess, definitely. And the exiled girl really knows no better other than just trying to survive. And what happens is if we haven't healed that part of ourselves, if we haven't come into relationship with that exiled girl, that part of ourselves that is scared and fearful and thinks that the world is out to get them and everything is a competition. I love that part of me, because really that part is very caring and very loving. But if we haven't come into relationship from our hearts with that part, then that's what's showing up for us here today in our adult life. The patterns, maybe, I don't want to speak in generalized terms, so take whatever applies to you and leave the rest. But the part that's living now in your adult body that is stuck and blocked really may be leading and coming from that part of you, that exiled girl that hasn't healed, that hasn't known that it's safe to arise, to step forward, to do good for you and for others. So I challenge you to think about how you can, if this is connecting with you, how you can help that part of you heal. And I know it's scary, because that girl is in exile. But the more that you keep her in exile, the more that relationship with her is pushed away, the more that you in your adult body are going to repeat the same patterns, have the same relationships with whatever, romance, friendship, job, money, the more that's going to happen. And I wish I would have known this about 4 years ago when I was trying to heal on my own. I really do. But I didn't. But now I do. And now I'm sharing the love. And now I live in the most aligned ways that I couldn't even fathom or imagine. So I hope that helps today. And big love.